And some of you might be thinking, oh, I know the answer to this question. I know what she's looking for. I know exactly what I would say if I had a microphone, because I know everybody would clap if I said, my identity is in who God says that I am. All right, yeah, exactly. We would clap for that. And for that, I would be like, yes, that's awesome. I love that you identify with that. I love that you would say, I am who he says I am. Maybe you sing that song here, the Hill song, I am who he says I am. We identify with who God says that we are, and that is incredible. But what I would ask you to follow up with that is, has that actually changed who you are? Because we can say it all day long, but until it changes who we are, it doesn't really matter. You see, because there was a time in my life when I was about your age where I could tell you so many things about who God says that I am. I could tell you that I haven't been given a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. But yet I was still afraid of everything and super anxious. I could tell you that I was made altogether beautiful and wonderful, that God says there is no flaw in me, that I am made in his image, but at the end of the day, I was still insecure. I'm not confident in who I am. So I could say all these things about who God says that I am, but at the end of the day, it didn't change who I am. Because honestly, if God is not God to you, then what God says about you won't change who you are. If God is not on the throne of your life, if he's not the priority of your life, then what he says about you isn't going to hold much value in your life. You see, if your relationship status is number one, then that's going to hold the value. If your looks are number one, if your status, if your popularity, if that's more important to you, then that's going to shape who you are. But if God is God, if God really is the creator of the universe, and if he really is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and if he really did send his son to die for you, if he really is God, and you believe that he is God, and you understand you are his child, that will change everything about the way that you live, period. You will be confident. You will have peace. You will have joy. You will feel loved. You will feel all these things because it will become true. So the question tonight that I want to answer is, I don't want to answer the question of who are you. I want you to answer the question of who is God to you. In Matthew chapter 16, it's really interesting because Jesus actually straight up asked this question. Basically, he takes his disciples to a place called Caesarea Philippi. And in Caesarea Philippi, the backstory of this place in the Bible is this place was literally called the gates of hell. So Jesus decides to take his disciples to the gates of hell, this terrible part of where they were from. And the reason why it was called the gates of hell is because this was the central gathering place of false worship. What does that even mean? What does it mean to be the central gathering place of false worship? Well, basically in this place, there was so many gods that these people bowed down to. If you would go to Caesarea Philippi, you would see this temple and that temple and this temple and this temple, and they were all to serve other gods. So you would see the god of Pan, which is a very lustful god. You would see a fertility god for people who wanted to get pregnant. You would literally see, no joke, dancing goats that people would go and bow to and worship. You would see Caesar would have a palace that you could worship Caesar in. All these other gods. And Jesus took his disciples straight to this place, comparing himself to all these other gods and asking his disciples, who do you say that I am?